short video on performing the monitor calibration with the Calman 5 software for the NAPLS 3 stimulus presentation computers. So we're assuming at this point that you've installed all the software and gone through the procedures outlined in the installation and setup video. And now we just want to reopen Calman 5 for Business on the desktop. And you'll get this little screen. Once it opens up, it will remember the settings that you had last time. So it automatically prompts you to use the advanced workflow, which is what we're going to use. It knows that your LCD is LED backlit, and maybe most importantly, it has the NAPLS Gamma 1.0 profile that we created. So this is the profile that we're going to calibrate and use for all of our ERP experiments. So all you have to do is click the Start Session button, and there we go. So again, this is sort of like before. We say it's this computer using the Windows operating system, and we're doing this for just a single cloned monitor. So if we hit next, actually in the next screen, if I go back, also we're going to click the this little icon up here, and it pops up this preference window. So the first thing that we want to change under the workflow basic options, we want to do pick power as the option, and the target exponent for the gamma power formula is 1. So you just type 1 in this box, and it should have PC radio button here selected by default, but if not, you want to pick that. Next, if you go to the preferences for the application, there's a measurement units pull-down menu. You want to pick CDM for the measurement unit. That's candelas per meter squared. And now, under the workflow advanced options, you can see if that all worked out, CD/M squared. So you want to pick the radio button to set the target white level to 100, so that when white is on the screen, it should measure 100 CD per meter squared. After that, you can actually hit this play button here, and it will close this preferences menu. So now we can see some prompts here and just confirm. So we're using power and 1.0 as our targets. So if I hit next, within the next window, there are a number of different options. I'm just showing you. I don't think you'll need to use this, but if you click this Source tab, you can click the Open Pattern Window button, and it pops up like a sort of just a simple window that you can drag and resize and move around. And that's the window that's going to display everything the photometer measures. So if you had your photometer on the side of the screen or something like that, you could move that box around. Since your monitor should be cloned, you don't need to use that. You can use this square in the center of the screen as your target. So let's see on the next screen. Yeah, so if you've wondering why this says step 2, step 1 is to plug this USB device into a USB port. And depending on where your monitor and stimulus presentation computer live, you may need to get a USB extension cable to make that long enough to reach. So step 2, you take this little cover off the edge of it, you rotate it around, and then the lens part of it is exposed so that you can hang it on your monitor. So this is the monitor that we have. This is just a cartoon showing the setup. So you want it to be flush against the screen, and there's this little black sort of counterbalancing weight on the USB cable for the photometer. So you can like there's a point sort of button that you can pinch to drag it up or down if you want the weight to be higher or lower on the cable. And then the monitor itself, you know, it's good tip is that you can just tilt it, right? Just like in the picture here. So you can tilt it back here. That should help it sit flush against the monitor. And it's got some foam pads on it so that it won't scratch the monitor or anything like that. And so your target, actually, to go back here, you want this camera lens to be directly over our black square here. So that it's ready for measurement. While you're setting things up on the monitor, there are a few buttons in the front where you can get to a menu to interact with the monitor. And on that menu, there's like it looks like a recycling symbol, and it's called memory recall, or labeled memory recall. So you want to go down to the memory recall button and select that. So that just factory resets your monitor. You may not need to do this if you've just plugged it in, but this way all sites have the exact same settings on the monitor. And if ever you're worried or it looks like the measurements are weird and maybe somebody adjusted it, the idea is just do the memory recall, do the factory reset, and you should be back where you started. Okay, so now we're assuming you've got the lens over this window on the stimulus presentation computer that the subject sees, and so we're ready to start actually measuring some things. So this little button over here is the Read Series button, and if you click that, then it will begin taking measurements of all these different, from basically black to white grayscale measures. And you can see it's highlighted this one here. As it progresses, it highlights each one. It updates this pattern that's cut off on the left. It basically is just telling you what horrible shape your monitor is in relative to this Gamma 1.0 target that you've set. And when it's done, you can hit Next. And there are a number of screens where you're basically doing the same thing. So we get to this contrast control screen and hit the Read Series button, which in this screenshot's already been done, and it gets red, green, blue measures that are plotted here. There's a lot of text that you'll be able to see when you're running this over here, but the idea for the setup that we're doing is to not manipulate anything, physically manipulate anything on the monitor. So there are instructions here about adjusting your monitor's contrast. We're not going to do that. You just want to confirm that the lines are parallel and that there are no major outliers or issues with the red, green, blue lines. And so then if we hit Next, again, we're going to hit Read Series. Now it's to measure brightness. And again, on the left, it's going to prompt you. You can adjust the brightness on the monitor if you want, but we're not doing that. So not adjusting anything on the monitor itself, just letting the software do it for us later. So you can see 184 CD per meter squared to start with. And again, I hit Next to get to the next screen. Hit Read Series again to get another measure. Now it's the red, green, blue balance. And this is just kind of showing that it's not perfectly balanced. Again, there are prompts of things that you can do manually to change it. And surprise, we don't want you to do anything to change it. Just get this measure and move on. So now things are actually going to happen at this next step. This is the actual calibration. What you can't quite see on the screen over here is it says press the Auto Cal button to calibrate your monitor's gamma. And this little sort of recycling symbol here, this is the Auto Cal button. So if you click that, it starts to go to work on the auto calibration. Basically, you're just waiting for it to do this and take all these pictures. When it's done, and actually as it's going, it'll adjust things on this plot over here. And it will also give you some indication of its success or failure. So for this particular run, we had an overall error of 1.2. And as you can see in the note here, it says generally an overall error of 3 or less is the target for an accurate calibration. So 1.2 is okay. And you get in the plot some indication of maybe at the end, the darkest blacks, it didn't quite get it perfect. So now, again, we hit the Next button to move to the next screen. And once again, it's saying to hit this Auto Cal button now to do some color balancing. So you hit that, it does its measurements, and then you can hit next again. Actually, I don't have a screenshot of what's next, but it shows you like a photo of a bowl of fruit or something like that, and says you can compare before and after and see what an amazing job he's done. Actually, because we're doing this Gamma 1.0 target, if it works out, the screen's going to look pretty washed out and almost sort of grayish. So the final screen won't be that exciting. But then you can just, you can click in the upper right hand corner to close it. It will ask you if you want to save, and you do want to save. So say save and exit. And it'll take a little while to write some data to disk. But then you're set. Your monitor is calibrated to Gamma 1.0. And as you say here, every time you boot up, the PC client should launch. So that, again, is this little application in the toolbar down in the lower right. And you should actually notice it. So at the login screen, if you've got to type in your password, the screen might be a little brighter. And then as soon as this client application launches, this sort of washed out color scheme will be applied to your monitor. So it gives you a little bit of visual validation that it's using it. You can also right-click on the CalPC client and see that the NAPLS Gamma 1.0 profile is selected. It'll have a little check mark next to it. And that's it. So thank you for watching.